Well, that's where we were staying, just up there, El Paja de Agés. I wanted to get my passport stamped, my Compostela. Yesterday when we arrived I couldn't find it quickly. I'd put it in the front pocket of my hip pack, but previously I'd always had it in the back pocket, and I thought I'd put it somewhere else, so I sort of thought I'll come back and do it later. Well, later there was no one there, and then there's no one there now. So I've gone back to the restaurant El Alquimista and got a stamp from them. Rather enjoyed being there. I was reading about the chapel up the way, and they say that they recently found the tomb of King Garcia buried underneath the chapel. There's some disagreement as to whether it really is his tomb or not. There's an idea that his tomb is in Nájera, but there seems to be some recent thinking that it is actually here at the Hermitage, where we went yesterday, where the stork was nesting in the top. We watched it for a while. So we'll shortly be going to Atapuerca, and there's a point where you look over the valley where the Battle of Atapuerca took place in, I'm pretty sure it was 1054, and that was when King Garcia was killed. So I'm looking forward to seeing that area. We were watching the TV series of El Cid recently, so been seeing a lot of these places and thinking about them. At least in theory we've been seeing these places, whether they're actually filmed in them or not, I'm not 100% sure. But yes, I've been mentally going back in time as well as travelling through Spain. The village is lovely. They have these little areas of plants. It's very green, certainly at this time of year. Portrait of the occupant. Well, we decided to take the official Camino and not stay on the road the way some people ahead of us did. It's quite wet against the legs, what with all the morning dew on the grass. Refreshing. It's quite cool this morning. I saw again a lot of people wearing longer layers. I'm just wearing a tank top.
Yeah, if you're going to pick this up, I think that the trouser legs will need to come back out.
Oh, trouser legs. As I said, we're heading toward the valley where the Battle of Atapuerca took place. Yesterday I mentioned that we would like to go to the site of the caves that they've excavated there, but we're not going to have time to do that. There is the Museum of Human Evolution, where they have a lot of the findings from that excavation, and that's in Burgos. But again, I know that's meant to be exceptional. The priority is for us in Burgos, because we went last year, of course, but we didn't walk there, and sort of didn't see the best aspect, I don't think, of Burgos. We were staying overlooking the Plaza Mayor. We could see the cathedral in the distance. We had an apartment that we'd booked, which was in a brilliant location. It looked right down onto the Plaza Mayor. But we sort of it was almost as though Burgos didn't open up for us at that point. We couldn't find anywhere good to eat. And it was the one day where, even though I hadn't done very much, I was sort of absolutely desperate for food, going faint. And so we got food that wasn't really at the best place, I don't think. We didn't find the river until late on. We couldn't find the main entrance to the... There's a little bird there. What is that? Singing away. Looks like a twite or something. I'll stop and see if I can show you in a moment. But we couldn't get into the cathedral because there was something going on. And we ended up getting chocolate and churros because it was quite cool and windy. And that area, once we found the river, looked really nice. So we're going to stay near the river. We're going to make sure we get into the cathedral. We've done our research this time about El Cid, so I won't go not knowing anything like enough about him and then find there are souvenirs about him in every shop. So I'm looking forward to doing those things in Burgos. Don't think we'll have time to do that museum, so maybe we'll return someday and do the excavation. Because it looks almost like a sort of canyon cut through the rock. So I'd like to see that, and the museum as well at some point. There's bird song just all around, and there were some little birds just in front of us on this little track out there. The people walking on the road, it's not officially the Camino, this is actually marked as being the Camino. I think they're missing things. It's quicker, of course, easier going on the road. Maybe if you're a bit sore, it's a better thing to do. But this is the Camino, and I think unless people use it, it will become overgrown. The pilgrims on it are a form of maintenance of it. And having said all of that, we're now on the road because that little track led us up here. I'm wondering which of these valleys will be, I think probably, oh, actually, straight ahead there, it looks like there are some standing stones. Maybe they mark, and there's somebody going to them. Maybe they mark the battle? It's a skylark calling. It'll be high up in the sky. To Alberto Velasco Alonso for your unconditional help with these excavations and research into the excavations, the cave dwellings in the Sierra of Atapuerca. To the people that during these 20 years have collaborated in the representation of the Battle of Atapuerca. So the archaeological centre is that brown building. It's just over there. And I'm looking for it. It says there should be... We have South Korean people here too. It says there's a milestone which marks the site where King Garcia of Navarra was defeated by his brother King Fernando I of Castilla. So maybe this is the stone that they're talking about, even though they've put all of those others over there. But basically it's here that that battle happened. And I can imagine, because there's the high ground over there, probably one side came down from the hills. Or perhaps some over there. Look at how those clouds are moving. Recognised by UNESCO at the end of November 2011. There are lagoons at Atapuerca. Green toads, I think. Yeah, if we had a bit longer here, I'd be interested in finding out more about those. I think they're probably down to our right, because that's where the lower ground is. I can see water down there, actually, yes. Nice little area. That will be really nice in the summer when it's fully in leaf, I imagine it's quite shaded. More pilgrims have just come out of Atapuerca. So we're just about to turn off, and you can see people are going up here, and then there's a hill that goes right up there. But here, after more than 800,000 years, man already lived in this same place. Mankind, it means. Never gonna see it. Gone right in there. I find it slightly ironic that it's the site of the battle, or the hill above the battle of Atapuerca, which is such a famous battle, and it's prohibited to enter the hill because it's a military zone. One of the other reasons why my pack is a little heavier this time is because I've got a few extra layers, because it's an earlier, well, it's spring really, May going into June, but going into Galicia, particularly going up the mountain, I know it could be quite cool, and particularly because ideally we want to sit outside to eat and so on, if we can, but even allowing for that in the evenings, ignoring that rather, the mornings could be quite cool too. So I have a very lightweight down jacket with me and some long trousers this time as well, and as you can see I'm wearing wrist warmers. These are really light, they're wool. And I don't think I brought a merino wool hat, but I was in two minds about it. I have been trying to cut down on how much I bring just because of the weight, but my plan, if I didn't have the merino wool like a liner hat, was to just use my buff like this, so I get earache really easily. So I've got earache. The rest of me is fine. I wouldn't want another layer on personally. Everybody else has, except for Andrew, he's got a t-shirt. But just going over some rocks here. Yeah, I wouldn't want another layer on, but my ears and my hands get cold. So that's what's been going on with that. We've reached a cross. I did mean to say, when I was talking about the cold and earache and so on, it's in the wind. I'm hoping the microphone isn't picking that up too much when I film, but because it's quite a cool morning with the wind too, it does get to you a bit. Somebody has managed to throw a pair of shoes up on the cross. And we're dropping down the other side. There is a bit of a climb coming out of Atapuerca. It was interesting today because it was misty and foggy. I hope you saw some of that, but really atmospheric. I think I remember some people saying that they had a strange atmosphere. They kind of, if there were places on the Camino that people picked up on just something in the atmosphere, that was one of the places at times. And I think I didn't really feel anything quite like that, but the fact that it felt quite shrouded in ghostliness, shall we say, I appreciated. Yeah, it's a cooler day today, as I was saying before. So I think that combined with going up over that hill has just made it feel quite different today already. Behind us on this side, I'll just show you if I can, there's a factory, and every so often it sounds like a train. It gives this loud horn sound. But then over here, it's just a deep verdant valley. So completely different to last year. And again, it feels, well, more like being at home in England at the moment. Yeah, the other thing I meant to mention was the skylarks. I don't know whether you're picking up on them. Obviously, I filmed one earlier, which I think you probably had, but they're all around now. And it's not really the soundscape in a way, isn't something, I think, well, it wasn't anything I knew. I think partly because you probably noticed that my videos don't tend to have music, and I know a lot of people use music because otherwise you get wind noise. But for me, actually I enjoy listening to music and videos and so on, but the soundscape is important. It's hard to get it. I'm hoping that with my new microphone setup maybe that's a little bit better, but sometimes it's the quiet, not me whittering. But right now it's skylarks, that's what we're hearing, and the sound of feet. A little bit the sound of the wind, obviously past our own ears, and then the factory, people talking in the distance. And there's a smell at the moment. It's a smell that we encountered last time we were here. I didn't expect to find it here now, because I thought with it being a different time of year, I thought it was associated probably with the crops rather than necessarily just the smell of the earth. But it's that, I think of it as tannin rich. It's almost leathery but sweet as well. Don't smell it at home ever. Yeah, skylarks again. If we stop, maybe you'll hear them. No, more pilgrims going. But yeah, skylarks. Hola. So we're entering Cardeñuela, Riopico. We're thinking we might stop here for coffee, possibly. We didn't get much of a... We did have a breakfast, really, but we had 2 little sachets of coffee that were in the the Paja de Agés. so we might have a bit of a break here. And shortly after here we're going to take a detour. Well, it's not really a detour, it's an alternative route. You can go straight on into Burgos. I'm guessing a lot of people will do that. Or we can take a left, which will connect us with... Do you remember yesterday, after San Juan de Ortega, I pointed out where we went back into the woods, but you could do an alternative route to the left. Some people were staying in Orbaneja, and they would have taken that route. Also, a lot of cyclists take that route. We're going to connect with that. Shortly after this village, we'll take a left and connect back up with that route. You can then, a short way after that, take another route which takes you along the river, and you go into Burgos along the river. Because last time we were here, we went into Burgos, and afterwards we hired a car to drive back to Barcelona for our flight. We did some of that walk, which is the continuation of this, into Burgos. It is a long, long drag through the suburbs, and they're very built up, and that's why a lot of people prefer to walk along the river. And I think that way you just see, having seen what Burgos is like, you see the city from its best angle to begin with. And I think also throughout history, people would have probably entered into it along the river that way, so we want to do that. And having café con leche again, and a Neapolitana, which is mostly gone. Well, it's now 9:20, and we're, I think, basically halfway there to Burgos, even allowing for the river route. So we had a nice little short break there. We're thinking about possibly getting more coffee, but it was a big long queue, so we thought we'd crack on. How many pilgrims are actually really like this? They've got their backpack, they've got their H2O and a mug and a camera. They've also brought an iron with them, and they've got their stereo music player, radio. There we go, maybe it's a radio attached to their walking stick. I think that we ought to win the prize for the pilgrims who stop the most. We've passed these people in front, I think about 4 or 5 times, and each time we get ahead we stop and we read a sign, or we take a photo, or something or other happens. It's a really pretty village. It's the municipal albergue. I just read on the notice board that one of the local birds is the common nightingale. Maybe that's one of the birds we've been hearing. I need to look up the song. It's not one that... Maybe? So we have to go up over the main road here, and soon after it we'll take the left, so that we can connect with the route that then will connect us to the river side section. So as I sort of suspected, I don't know why, but I just suspected it, everyone's going straight on. If you want to avoid the trawl through the centre of Burgos, you want to go this way and then round there. And then you'll go into Burgos along the riverside, which is a far, far prettier route. So I'm going to try to show you on my phone what's just happened. You come along across the overpass there, and what we're doing is we're coming down this route here. See, we're here now. So we've taken that turn off. Everybody else that we've seen has gone straight on. If you go straight on, And this isn't actually marked, there were no signs for it, but if you go straight on, you go right through the centre of Burgos. If you take this route, you'll connect with this other route that split off from us yesterday. You can then take this blue route, which leads you along the river. And it's, by all accounts, much nicer. Having walked along the river a little last year, it is a really nice place to go. There are some more people now turning off down here. Maybe the others will follow suit now. So currently this is the view ahead. If you happen to come here and you feel a bit strange taking this turn off, don't be too concerned, because, as I'll show you, oh, there is a stalk right above us there. Can you see the stalk? Anyway, coming along the track, we now have many peregrinos, also a car. So this is another bit where I think it could probably be quite easy to go wrong. If you follow the road around that way, that's not the way to go. You might see on Google Maps, or if you're using the Buen Camino app, you go straight on here. It looks as though it's a dead end, but in fact, you get to this fence. There's actually an airfield straight ahead. You get to this fence and you go left at the bottom here. And now we get Camino signs again. One just ahead there. So we go down here. Little skylark is just taken off, going down again. Up, up. There he goes. He did go quite high. He'll start singing maybe shortly. I do love the way they display. Yeah, skylarks, the lengths they go to impress the males doing that. Look at me, look at me, look at me, I'm so high in the sky and I can sing and I can sing, and then they plummet. Wonderful. I think we now have pilgrims behind us again, so I'm pleased to see that too. They must have just been hiding. Maybe they stopped for a little break. Okay, so this little bit here, of always walking down the main road for a short section. It's pretty because of all the wildflowers. I was just talking to the gentleman behind us, and he was saying that people often go straight on when they get to that village. And when I looked at my other app, which is the Camino Frances app, that does have the river route going straight on, and then it's marked as a green dotted route. It goes through the park. But if you use the Buen Camino app, that shows the river route as being that the route we're following. So they're both river routes. So the Buen Camino app has us crossing at this point, which again the Camino signs actually say to continue going down there. Before you get to that tower block, you cross over the dual carriageway. It's not a particularly safe crossing, so you've got to take care. We're back to shell signs on the road. So just after that shell sign, we've decided to turn off here to get into the park at this point. So doing it this way, we're now crossing over the river. We could have chosen to go along the path that goes that way, which would be the Buen Camino app path, but you connect in the Buen Camino app with it further down. But this way, what I was thinking is that Frances app, and I think I've on a forum, I think I've read about people doing this route as well. The advantage of being on this left bank of the river, I think, is that when you get closer into the city, you're going to have a view of the cathedral with the river in as well, whereas if you're on that side of the river, you're not going to see the cathedral because you're on the wrong side of the river for it. So I think it will probably be nicer on this side. So I hope you could maybe make them out, but we were looking at the little goslings on the weir, and because I've got my monocular I was able to watch them quite closely. I don't know that I've seen goslings so close up before. Seems very strange, I'm sure I must have, but I can't remember being able to watch them for any period of time at all. Lovely little chunky yellow things. There are these little seeds everywhere, and some of the trees seem to be coated in them, and others really aren't so much. But I'll show you. There's Andrew relaxing. But down here, so all seeds, and they're sort of like snow on either side. Well, there were signs just in front of that bridge telling us to cross there, but the apps don't say to cross there, and I honestly don't know why you would cross there, because there are a few more bridges down here, and I want to see the cathedral from across the river, because I know it will be a nice view, having been here before. So I'm going to stay on here until we get closer. At the bottom of the statue, just there, it says Hacklebail 2021, because it's the year of St. James this year for pilgrims. And that's the view. It is so much nicer coming into Burgos like this. And I think if I'd first ever come into it this way, I would have been far more open to loving it. Since then, I've seen a lot about it and sort of, as I was saying yesterday, grown to love parts of it, and I think now I'll have a much better experience. That is the Ruta de mi Cid, referring to El Cid. It's the route of El Cid. You can hear that noise. It's because they're cutting the grass down here. See, there's a tractor. It's not what you expect, really, but is it rural? Is it urban? It's well maintained. Huh? In summer, the trees create a complete canopy, so it's entirely shaded. I like seeing so many dogs. See them running around by the river. We think we might sit here and have a cup of coffee. Well, it is 12:30 and we've taken our time today, really, in the sense that we stopped for coffee, we stopped for a short break in the park to eat half a muffin each. We had those Neapolitanas as well, and I've been stopping all the time, kind of not just to film. Occasionally I take still photographs, mostly on my phone, but yeah. And here we are, 12:30, so that was rather good. So now we're hoping we'll have some coffee, go to our hotel, and then go around the cathedral and see if there's anything to do with El Cid. I like El Cid. I didn't know anything like enough about El Cid last time. Yeah. Well, I didn't tell Andrew that I'd put us up at the Marriott for tonight, and it's partly because, looking at private rooms, there actually weren't many available, and the place we stayed at last time was, I think, strangely more expensive than this was, so I did upgrade us to a river view. But it's nice to be here and to see a nicer side of Burgos. We know that we like this part because we particularly liked it last time and wished we'd been able to spend more time in this area. Well, we're leaving the hotel now, going for a walk, and first stop will hopefully be to the cathedral so that we can look inside it this time. I was looking, you can buy tickets online, but because we weren't sure how long we were going to be, we thought we'll just head over to the ticket office. It says that they're the same prices online as they would be at the ticket office anyway. But it's a lovely day now, a nice blue sky. Burgos is, I think, quite well known for being quite a windy city, but it's really pleasant now. And here we have the cathedral. It's so much nicer coming in the way we just did. We just walked through, that's the gate that I showed you earlier that had all of the ornate sculpture work above it. It's the gate of Santa Ana. No, not Santa Ana, sorry, Santa Maria. Catedral de Santa Maria over here. El Quijote. Looks like they've got an exhibition of El Quijote. The Grand Parodia
that might be.
Of Cervantes. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've been told by some people that are doing the Camino too that we can see part right now that's right at the front, but the main part only opens at 6:30, and that is what I saw when I looked it up on the internet too. So it could be that we need to do something else for a little while, and then when we return, I don't think I'll be able to film in here, so we'll come back later perhaps. So I'm very pleased that in fact it is possible to film and take photos as long as one doesn't use flash. Wow. The carving on the sides of the tower up there. So we're in the chapel of the presentation, and this is a Renaissance chapel. And the founder was Gonzalo Diez de Lerma, and this is his tomb. So that's who we're looking at here. Lerma is a beautiful village that we passed when we were on the bus going from Madrid to Belorado. And I made a mental note of it because I thought it looked so pretty, I wanted to go. We both walked into here and just immediately thought, wow. So just to explain the altarpiece in a little more detail, it's based on the dream of Jesse. And you can see that the tree springs from his chest. He's lying there sleeping. And it's the family tree of the Virgin. And the kings of Judah sort of grow from the branches. Well, this is quite the staircase. Apparently the old staircase was demolished. Now I'm imagining that, you can see up there, there's an arch. I imagine that was connected to the old staircase in some way. But the reason that they demolished it was to prevent the residents of the upper section of Burgos from using it to pass their goods. So this is in Latin, but it says Roricus de aquí campion doctor, which is basically Rodrigo Campeador, which is the Spanish name for El Cid. And this is his tomb. He was relocated here with his wife, Jimena, quite recently actually. They were placed here in 1921. And the thing about the location of it is that it's right at the heart of the cathedral. It's directly underneath that dome. So another thing that is quite remarkable here is that there are two organs, one on either side here. The one I'm showing you now is a very, very old organ dating from 1636, and it was made by Juan de Arguete. And it actually works. It's been restored and is currently operational. The one on the other side, I'll just show you, is a little bit more recent, but having said that, it's hardly recent really. It still dates from 1806, and that one's the work of Juan Manuel de Perotaza. This one is above the tales of the gospel, which are along this side here, whereas the other side has the epistles. It's now 5 o'clock. It's incredibly well made. So we're now in the low cloisters. It looks like it could be El Cid, doesn't it? I don't think that's a 15th century one. Ah, this is the chest of El Cid. Huh.
No es pot obrir.
Us vaig anar a veure. Està gravant,
Gracias. It's a fascinating thing. Well, we've just come out. You come out that exit there, and I bought myself a little El Cid kind of type-in thing, and I got one for Kim, my daughter. So it's only a little thing. I've enjoyed learning all about El Cid. I'm gonna have a look in here. I do love the windows. This is around the back of the cathedral now. So we've just come back through the Santa Maria gate and we're walking down this lovely tree-lined area. So this place here, the Chocolateria Ibáñez, when we came here last time, when we weren't on foot, we just came in and then drove out again. We stopped there and had chocolate and churros, and it is the place that the locals go. I had a conversation with a couple of local ladies, and then they broke off because she needed to. We chatted for quite a while, and then she said, I must eat my hot chocolate while it's still hot. If it's at all cool as well, they have heaters burning there. So it was really nice. It was quite cool when we were here that time, and it was really cozy. So we have actually now found somewhere to eat, and it's actually right by the cathedral. I have no idea. I mean, normally I wouldn't eat somewhere that's right by the main tourist attraction, but they're serving now. The menu is really good. It's right in front of you there. I'll zoom in, you can see. So they have a range of first courses. It includes morcilla, which is one of the Burgos specialities. They do lamb chops, which Andrew's very keen to have. I'm going to have the Castilian soup and the grilled hake, at the bottom. And they also do Neapolitanas, I noticed, inside. We went and bought some from a bakery that was down by the river. And they only had little ones, so it was 3 for €1.80. We got quite a few. But we could have come here and got quite a large one. More or less everywhere else we asked, they just said 8 o'clock or 8:30, which I know is normal. We just haven't ever really adjusted to that. It's quite hard. Look at the windows in that building across the street. My Castilian soup has already arrived. It's now just approaching 25 to 7, so we're really well ahead of time today. Yeah. Well, that's quite loud. And Andrew's having the lamb. So I've moved around here because we've got the plexiglass which is breaking up some of the wind, so I'm not quite so cold. I've gone off the menu with the menu of the day. I didn't want any of those desserts because none of them were hot. It's quite cold here. I don't know whether you can see, this is hot chocolate and I've got churros to go in it. And they've given me separate sugar, which I don't think the other place had separate sugar, did it? So I'm going to guess it while it's hot. I'm going to learn from that lady last year who told me that she couldn't talk anymore because she had to guess it while it was hot. Hot chocolate. Good. Well, it was rather fun eating that. Bon fin, it's called. It seems to be Pilgrim Central at the moment as well. Lots of people that we recognise already eating in there. And this is the other side of the cathedral. Now, last time we were here, there wasn't only a wonderful fountain here, there was a giant sort of statue with angel wings, and people would go and pose in front of the wings so that it looked like they were the angel's body. And Andrew was desperate to pose in it this time, and it's gone. Weren't you? And there we have the front of the cathedral. We're going for a short walk, partly to get the blood moving and also to see a place called Salar del Cid, which is supposedly the house of El Cid. It was, I'll tell you more about it when we get there, but it was actually reworked, I believe, in the 1700s. it's strange because I was reading that last Saturday was the hottest Saturday in May, the hottest day in May on record. It was reported in El País and I got a notification on my phone. It's so cold here again. There's something about Burgos that, I suppose it's quite far north, it channels the wind, but you know, you go down some streets and there isn't so much wind and it feels warm again, and then you turn a corner and it's cold. Most odd. So this is the site of El Cid's house, according to legend. It's a landmark and it really just commemorates the site where, according to tradition, El Cid lived. However, the original commemorative monument honouring El Cid was replaced in 1784. This one was built by José Cortés. The earlier one was an ancient one. It dated from the 11th century, so actually around the time of El Cid. And El Cid's coat of arms are there. Also the emblem of Burgos on the left and the emblem of Cardeñuela on the right. So that one in the middle is El Cid's coat of arms. But I suppose the nice thing about being here is just the thought that it is where he lived. I find the idea, I suppose it's a bit like the way in England we have Robin Hood, although El Cid is definitely a historical figure, rather than just a legend. And I guess if the original monument dated from the 11th century, maybe there are grounds for believing that the house actually was here. Of course, we're not far from the cathedral walls. As I say, they're sort of beyond that way. And then the city of Burgos is down over there. And tomorrow we'll be heading out over in that direction, and the Meseta is over that way. So that for me is completely unexplored territory as of now. And I'm looking forward to learning more about it. Andrew has been asking me what I love so much about El Cid, and it's not that I love so much El Cid, and I was trying to begin to explain it a little earlier. Andrew asked if it was that he's just so honourable, and really I need to know a lot more about El Cid. I find it an interesting subject, but as I was beginning to say, the way in the UK we have, you know, the legends of Sir Lancelot, we have the chivalric kind of tales, we have Robin Hood, but very little of it is actually based in fact. In the case of El Cid, you can't really argue that what he did was, by current day standards, particularly kind, shall we say. It's just the way things worked, I suppose. And of course it was nobility. There's a stork in the top of that tower. Sorry, but there's a sort of ruin. It's a bit like the facade of the Hermitage the other day. I'll show you in a moment. But anyway, it's like Sir Lancelot, but real, with facts and things you can go and see. And maybe there's an element of, if you ignore all of the violence and all of that, those sort of, you know, the larger-than-life character, you want to believe in that, don't you, a bit? Although when we get them these days, they're all horrors. They're terrible people. Not thinking of anyone in particular or anything, but I'm going to go and investigate these stalks now. But that's the answer to the question. So I hope you might be able to see the stalk just at the top of that nest there. It's not moving much. A little bit occasionally. Yes, we were just coming up that road. It's moved its head a little. We were just coming up that road as I was talking to you about my ideas about El Cid, which Andrew has been telling me that I can't just ignore the violence. Anyway, yes, and then I saw that. And it's just a facade. Let's see if I can find out anything about it. I don't know what it is. The cathedral is over at the end of that street there. There is actually a baby in there. Don't know whether you'll be able to see it. It's closer than the main stalk, which just sort of made a big loud noise. A rattling call. Maybe it heralds more along the Meseta. This is the Plaza Mayor, and the last time we came here we stayed in an apartment in the top corner of that pink building there. Ordered it, well they didn't order it, booked it through booking.com. It was nice. Really good view across the Plaza Mayor from there.